running processes a very a boxed-in view of the operating system. If you've ever had the experience when you were a kid of making a really cool mix CD and putting your MP3s onto your CD drive, but not clicking burn until you're sure that you have the right files, the right order, that's how Docker does its union file system, essentially. What about Vagrant? Vagrant is very similar to Docker in a certain sense. It's an abstraction. Docker is an abstraction over Linux kernel features. Vagrant is an abstraction over virtual machine providers, hypervisors, as we just covered. It's very cool. You can also use Vagrant with Docker images. If you're like, I want to use Docker, but I like Vagrant's interface. What Vagrant isn't is a hypervisor itself. What about Kubernetes? Kubernetes is an orchestrator. If your thing crashes, it brings it up. If you have too many things, it gets rid of some of them. Too few things, etc. There's three concepts that are kind of useful for putting it in context with virtual machines. Kubernetes has nodes. Nodes, if you're running, for example, on Google Cloud, or basically any other cloud provider, the nodes are probably going to be virtual machines. On the nodes, the pods, and inside the pods, the services. The things inside the services could be virtual machines. There's adaptations for that, but are typically going to be containers, like Docker images.
So is Kubernetes like an operating system for multiple machines?
Is Kubernetes like an operating system for multiple machines? In what sense do you mean an operating system?
For example, an operating system, an operating system knows that a file is located. When you go to save a file, it knows where to put it on which disk and where to put it on.
Right, up on the server RPM. Then do what is QNS RPM.
Or 3 has got an open slot. That's what I'm thinking.
In that sense, I would say yes, very much. Kubernetes is like an operating system for servers.
Okay, so the flip side of that, what you said is, in another sense, it's not, right? Because from the way you answered the question, I get the sense that it's really not an operating system.
In the sense that I don't want it to be conflated with something that you install on your laptop.
Okay.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Kubernetes is more like, my understanding, which may be incorrect or incomplete, is that Kubernetes is more like system D for multiple machines. It's more like system D.
Oh, system D. Okay.
So you say, I have a web server, and I have a database server, and the database has a storage server. So I want to bring up the web server, then first the database server has to be running, and it can run on these machines or this many machines.
That is a very excellent point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, what you were talking about, very much like the scheduler, the init process for. What's a virtual machine? Since I've been talking about them a lot and how they are run by a hypervisor, it's just a file. I don't really like the sort of mysterious marketing hype-driven stuff around the cloud. It's just a file. It's probably a compressed file. There's an open standards format that's been ratified by a couple of standards bodies for how that file should be written and composed. And now we get to the part of the talk that I actually wanted to get to. This is Cubes is a project which turns a type 1 hypervisor, Zen, that has historically been used by just about every established cloud provider out there into a friendly and reasonably secure
¿Cómo se llama?
operating system
La
for
chingada, güey.
your laptop.
No que, oye, le vas a tomar despacio y la chingada, güey.
It's kind of what it looks like, or at least this is what mine looks like. Everything that I demonstrate from this point on can also be done via the command line, but I'm sticking to the GUI because I want to show that this is definitely sort of an end user operating system for a certain definition of end user. You'll see up here is the VM manager. Walk you through that. There's the name column, the state column, which shows you if it's running, if it's starting up, starting down, if it's off, if it needs upgrades from a template, which I'll get to in a sec. You can see what template it's based on. You can see what net virtual machine it's using. You can see how much of the memory it has allocated it's using. You can see what IP address it has. And you can also add tons more columns to that that I do not currently have displayed. It's a very fast way to start them up, shut them down, make changes to them. So going back to the net VM column, you see the Vault VM there has dashes in the net VM column. And what the dashes mean is that as far as the operating system in that Vault VM is concerned, it does not have a network card. It cannot talk to the internet at all. Nothing goes in, nothing goes out. You see that the untrusted VM is connected to the firewall. The firewall is connected to the sysnet, and the sysnet has NA, which means it doesn't have, means it's using the network device directly. It talks to the network card. That's where the stuff comes in and out. It's funny because I think of that one as being the completely unsafe, untrusted zone, but that's actually the level of security of every other laptop I use. And DOM0, which is the administrative domain. It's the ground zero for if you have root access on DOM0, you can make any changes to the hypervisor you want. Speaking for the Zen hypervisor here. Moving over to the template column, one way that security is enforced on it is that the only thing that persists on the virtual machine image after it's shut down is your home directory. So anything else, like a program that you want to install elsewhere, you'll need to boot up the template that it's based off of and install it on the template. DOM0 is based on the admin template. You can see all the others that I have there are Fedora. But you can use Ubuntu, you can use Windows, you can use any operating system that you're happy and comfortable with. How do you start programs? There's a start menu. You click on things. It'll start the things up. It'll start the VMs up if they're not running when you try to start a program on that virtual machine. This here is demonstrating that they are actually, the file systems are actually isolated from each other with using the date command to show that I didn't cheat. I created a file on the firewall. You can see that it's not on the untrusted VM. It's not visible from that one. And the other thing you may have noticed by now is that Qubes is a very colorful OS. It is. It's really pretty. I like that. But it's not an aesthetic choice. It wasn't done to be cute or pretty. DOM0 runs XFCE. It used to support KDE. I'm not sure if it actually supports KDE anymore. It runs the Windows Manager. The thing that you click on, it draws them. So when it draws this, this green window and puts sysfirewall in those brackets at the top, unless there is a bug in the Zen hypervisor or in Qubes, which is always possible, I know with 100% certainty that window, that green window there, has been drawn by that virtual machine and no others. Any of you ever had something like this pop up on your screen before? Yep. I think that slide speaks for itself. Okay, this is me right-clicking on one of the VMs to show you some more options. This answers the question of, like, how do I plug in my thumb drive and upload, download my files to it. You attach it. It can't be accessed from a running VM until you attach it. That's pretty much the same for all block devices and for audio input. So if you're running a Firefox in your untrusted virtual machine and you don't have your audio attached to it, you are pretty much 100% certain that even if there are bugs in Firefox, which there may be, or Chrome, or whatever you use, nobody is listening in on your audio. As far as that virtual machine is concerned, until you connect the audio, it has no sound card.
What about audio out?
Audio out is handled automatically by Cubes so that, yeah, sound basically plays from wherever. I think that you can lock that down if you want to, but I'm not positive. You might have noticed earlier when I showed you the start menu that there was just like Firefox and Terminal, which you're like, gee, all I can do with this operating system is browse the web. No. This is kind of a security feature. It's nice. It helps to prevent you from accidentally launching a thing you did not intend to launch on a certain virtual machine. Is you can edit for each virtual machine what programs are available in the start menu for it. Other settings you can see here. You can change what template it's based on. You can change what network virtual machine it's based on. Some more settings. You can scale up and down the memory that it's allowed to use. You can scale up and down the virtual CPUs that it's allowed to use. I mean, with the caveat that you probably shouldn't give it more CPUs than you actually have. So on this slide, you can see that I'm transferring a file that I've downloaded from Firefox to another virtual machine. It's as pretty much as simple as right-click and move to or copy to. I enter in the name of where I want it to go, and you're thinking, yeah, but you see that that dialog box is in red, which means it was launched by the untrusted machine. I bet I could write a script in the background to copy files to your DOM0 and do all kinds of fun, nasty stuff. Nobody else was thinking that? Nope. Cubes has got you. And there's the file. So that's all great, but backups must be super hard on this thing. No, not really. This nice little thing, you click on it, you select which ones you want to back up. You tell it where you want to back them up to. You can encrypt the backups so that they are secure. You can access the files in the backups without the Cube's operating system, which is kind of critical to me, as long as you don't forget your, encryption passphrase if you used one. And as you can see here, because it's not the full operating system, because it has this template structure, your VMs can be pretty small for backup. This is an overview of the architecture. This is Cubes 4, which is slightly different than what you just saw, which was Cubes 3. They're moving away from Xen. a lot of people are moving away from Zen. It's sad. AWS uses KVM now.